Hello, this is Brianna Michael, and I will be doing my final evaluation. I chose to do a video this time because I feel like it's more personal, and more meaningful as we walk through our last assignment together. Unfortunately, I wish we were in person. I wish that we could finish practicum as we all do, and have those connections with each other, but hopefully this video will bring a little light to our situation. And yeah, so let's get started. So, looking back at the midterm evaluation, and looking for an area of growth, I'm always looking for an area of growth, honestly. And one of my strong suits, as my CT even circled on my midterm, was asking questions. I will forever ask questions. So, I think instead of starting with area of growth, I'll just start with the one thing I am confident in, and that is asking questions. I will ask someone questions constantly throughout the day, even if it's the same question 50 times. I want to make sure I know. I want to make sure I know what I'm doing. And even when I get to my own classroom, I'm going to be asking so many questions. I'm sure the teachers around me will think I'm insane, but I want to know, and I think the best way of knowing and figuring out things is to ask questions, especially when you don't know, or especially, like I said, when I become a new teacher, I need to ask questions. So I think that is something also to look at as a benefit for myself, that I'm not afraid to ask questions, that I'm not nervous or just kind of brush things off. I mean, of course, I'll be nervous approaching new teachers or people I don't really know. But like I said, I'd rather ask you a million questions and know than not ask and not know. And, who knows what could come from that? That could come from, me not doing well as a teacher, not doing well for my students, anything. So, like I said, I'm very confident in wanting to ask questions and see how I can improve in any category. So let me read this. So yeah, that's what I really think that I have confidence in, and I hope to continue that as I do go through new experiences. But for an area of growth, I kind of found it hard to talk about because I definitely need areas of growth. That's not what I mean, but she wrote there's 2 twos on my midterm, and the first two is arrives promptly and stays the required length of time. And even if you talk to her or the people I went with, we always stayed the appropriate length of time. But there was one time I was late, and I did contact her because I had a car issue. So trying to understand why she gave me a 2 on that was a little difficult. I think she did because I told her that our professors didn't want us to all get 4s. So I think since I was late that one time, she circled that. But other than that, honestly, I do need a routine to work on, and I'm constantly working on that every day, trying to make sure I can get up at a certain time, find a routine to get my schoolwork done, because I know as a teacher I'll have a lot. I'll have planning, students' work to grade, God knows what else, just life. So I know I definitely need to work on that anyway. But then the other two was assumes responsibility for the learning environment, which is prepares materials, organizes the activity, cleans area, and returns materials. And that was interactions with teachers. I wasn't really sure about that. Like I said, I feel like she kind of just circled a 2 to make sure, like, we had something lower. I'm not really sure. We did have a conference, but she never really went into depth. She talked about more of like, well, I tried to not give you all 4s, but like, you're doing great. So I think it was more of that preference, because I did all of those things. Like, if I was to teach a lesson, I would prepare and clean up. And if she gave me something to do, like interactions with her, like it says, I would always return it to her and make sure it was properly placed and put away. So I picked a 3 to improve on, and that would be plans and implements learning experiences to meet the needs of all children. This kind of relates to our differentiation video that we watched, and honestly, I just really feel that I need that area of growth. I feel that I'm going to be with all kinds of children, and I'm ready for that, like to have that experience. But I also know it's going to be difficult because I'm not trained in everything. You know, I am not a doctor, I'm not a psychiatrist, psychologist. You know, I don't know necessarily what these kids go through or what they may have exactly, an understanding, because I don't particularly have that thing, whatever that may be, whether it's a learning disability, a physical disability, you know, whatever it may be. I think it's going to be a challenge, and trying to make sure that every child's need is met, I feel, is very challenging. It's not impossible, it's not easy, but I feel like I do need to grow in that area. So I found a video on Atlas, and it's case 191, using images to build speaking, listening, and descriptive language skills. So this is a case where a teacher is using images of a whale to develop students' speaking, viewing, and descriptive language skills, and students viewing, discussing, and noting the physical characteristics of a whale. I didn't pick it for the whale or anything like that, but I thought this was a beneficial video for me because it really, like, one of the core teaching standards it talks about is assessing individuals and groups to meet learners' needs, and that's exactly what I want to do. Like, she provides them with so many different things. I mean, she has a speaking rubric for them, writing samples, thinking pair share strategies, observation notes, a pre-assessment, audio recordings, oral recordings. I mean, so many different things for these kids to partake in. It was just so cool to see, especially her class. So she said she teaches a 2nd and 3rd combination class at a K-5 Spanish dual immersion school. Now, I know that'll be a little different from elementary and what I'll be teaching, but just having all that in one classroom, like, amazes me. And 21 students, 11 are 2nd graders and 10 are 3rd graders. And I've never actually heard of that, so I thought that was interesting. And they're all multilingual and multi-ethnic. 8 students speak Spanish as their first language. They serve Spanish role models to their peers. Then we have English-speaking students. Some were born in Guatemala, some are born from China and India. Like, they have all kinds of students. And this is kind of strictly just about language, because I couldn't find a video strictly on differentiation, and I tried to type it many different ways, but like I said, I feel like this video reflected the most with it. But throughout the video, she just allowed so many different, like, strategies for students, especially ones that may not speak English. I know that we do have ESL students in our elementary classrooms today, and you know, this makes me really relate to some things we give them or some things we write. They don't understand what it is. English is not their first language, so they might be confused, they might not know. So kind of like reflecting back to the other video or presentation, having those visuals. In this video, the visual is the whale, and we're describing the whale, what it looks like, trying to get the, you know, English speaking into it, but also using the visual to describe what it may be, you know, how they view it, what their experiences are with it, and things like that. So I think that's so important to be able to implement that into our teaching, into my future classroom. Just having so many different strategies and different styles of learning to support these needs. Like I said, this is kind of a complex classroom. I wish I could teach this classroom. I definitely do not have the skills for that. I wish I could speak Spanish fluently and other languages as well, but I cannot. But yeah, this video is a little lengthy, but I just wanted to show my experience and dedication with this. Like I said, I really want to meet the needs of all my children, regardless, you know, whether I have 10 students who have 10 different needs or if they're all the same. I want to find what helps them the best, and I want to research and learn more about differentiation and how I can improve that in my classroom. I feel like with my last practicum, I have really considered. Kindergarten was kind of hard for me to see the differentiation, but fourth grade really helped, I feel like, expand me on that. But I really do need more growth into it. Because like I mentioned on my other video, that when I plan a lesson, differentiation always gets me kind of stumped. Like, what do I do? Like, what do I implement to help these students? So I want to definitely research more, get into it more, ask a lot of questions more, email, talk to whoever I need to, so I can implement all the different learning experiences to all my students with different needs. So yeah, I think that's cool, and I'm really excited. I feel like I learn a lot all the time, like from these classes, from these experiences. I work at a preschool, so I'm constantly learning every day with them, and seeing how they are. Like, I have this one student who's from Russia, and he speaks Russian, but he also speaks English. So, like, trying to understand things that I say in English might be different and mean different in Russia to him. It's just really cool to learn and how to, like, implement the lessons that we do teach them, so they understand, or so they get that same learning experience. So yeah, like I said, and it says what I learned, just learning how to involve differentiation into things. I think I've answered all questions, but I am so excited to implement differentiation in my future classroom, especially learning new ways to doing it. I did use visuals before, but I think implementing that a lot more would help a lot of students. Like I said, regardless of if you're an ESL student or not, I think some kids just need that visual, or they need that auditory, they need that listening, you know, because not everyone's a visual learner, or the kinesthetic, I think I said that right. Yeah, something like that, you know what I mean. Like hands-on learning. There's so many different ways to implement something, and you know, like I said, when I plan a lesson, it makes me wonder and confused, like, am I getting to this kid? Well, if I'm only implementing it one way, I mean, am I? Like, how many students am I reaching? So if I provide multiple different ways, I think my classroom will be a success. I will feel better and be a better teacher, and I will learn so much while doing it. So I'm going to wrap up, but I also just want to say thank you so much for being my seminar leader. I really appreciate everything you did, with emailing, coming to see us. I got to have my observation by you, and I really appreciate that, and your feedback, and just thank you for being so kind. I hope you stay safe, and hopefully we'll get to see you in August.